Welcome everybody to our Amud Yomi Shiur. We are now learning Bava Metzia Ein Beis Amud Beis in the bottom of the page. Welcome to everybody here in Avos Shalom, Torah Anytime, and even in YouTube. So we are learning about Ribis, all kinds of interesting cases. The Shiur is Little Nishma Sovi Moiri, Menachem ben Akiva, Rus Bas Shalom Sor Bas Moshe, Lerefuas Chana Batzima, Yitzchak ben Tzipora, Lea Bas Tomo, Aviva Bas Dvoiro, Besoch Shachol Yisrael, and Norman Crow. So we said we're learning about ribis, so let's continue. Tono Rabbanon. Tono Rabbanon. This case, we've seen a very similar case before. 10 dapim ago, we saw this case, and let's see if we remember the case was on a slight difference. Tono Rabbanon. Rabbanon taught us. Hamoilich chavila mimokim lemokim. A person is taking a chavila, a parcel, a package, in order to sell it from one place to the other. Now, he's taking it from a place where he could sell it here for, let's say, 50 shekels, but ain't stupid. He's going to sell it in a place, fancy place. Over there, he can charge for it 70 shekels, let's say. The numbers I'm just inventing. Okay, he's about to make a cut of 20 shekels, okay? Or he can make bigger numbers. His friend found him on the way. His friend told him, Tnali, give me the parcel now, and I will not yet pay you. So you're now giving me something worth 50 shekels, okay? And I'm not giving you anything in return. Anybody that has ribis, written all over his face, and we all became very ribis sensitive when we learned this parak. He's getting the chavila, he's getting the parcel worth 50. Yeah, maybe it's an expensive watch, 50,000. And what? And he's about to, what does he want to do with it? I'm not paying you anything now. You have to trust me. Yeah, they trust each other, which means what? You're giving me. Let's say you are the one with the parcel in your hand. I'm the one who wants to make the cut and say, listen, Rabbi, give me the 50 shekels worth chavila now. I will sell it there in the expensive place for 70, and I will give you the 70. What am I gaining? What am I gaining here? I'm gaining the fact, what? Saving. No, obviously the person who's the owner of the 50 was about to sell it but didn't. Reuven and Shimon. Reuven was on his way to sell the 50 shekel for 70 in a place where it's worth 70. Nobody's lying here, by the way. Yeah, it's one of these cases with no liars for a change. Yeah, so now, yeah, the 50 shekel guy, Reuven, Reuven gives the 50 shekel parcel. He's happy. He has a free agent. The agent does the job for free for him, right? He's going to sell, get the 70, and give it to me. Meanwhile, I will finish half the shas at home, sipping my coffee by the fireplace. Very nice, right? Okay. Why is he doing it? Is he a friar? He's walking all the way, traveling all the way to the expensive place. He's not a friar at all. Why? Because Lamaisa, he's going to get the 50 shekels worth, right? The chavila. He will have the 70 shekels in his pocket. He'll be able to use the 70 shekels and do whatever he wants with it. So it's really halva. Once he's going to get 70 shekels cash or 70,000 to make it exciting, he will get the money, the so to speak messenger. He'll be able to do whatever he wants with the money and then give him other money back. In other words, eventually it's like a halva. It's really like a halva. It starts with mekach umenkar, but Lamaisa for a long time he's going to have the 50 shekels in his hands, the parcel, sell it, get the 70 shekels, play around with it, make money in the stock exchange, in Bitcoin, in whatever you want, in all kinds of cryptocurrency, whatever it is, and then give him back the 70. Lamaisa, at the end of the day, it becomes a loan, and he's giving more, right? He got 50 originally, and we'll give him back 70. And there's a loan effect in the middle. I think that's a ribis darabonon. It's ribis because he's waiting for his money. Reuven, the original guy of the 50 shekel, the owner of the 50 shekel parcel, is giving him something and he's waiting for a long time for his money, right? At the venture to wait for my money and then at the end get more money, that's a bad formula. That's ribis. It's not ribis doraisa. It's not doraisa because loan wasn't mentioned. The dirty word, the four-letter word loan is not mentioned. It's not mamash loan. It's mekach umemkar. It's about buying and selling. So it's derabanan. L'choira, it's still a problem. However, there's a solution. Says the Gemara, depends. Says the Gemara, sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not okay. I wonder if you remember it was 10 dapim ago. Depends. Birshus moicher mutar. Bershus lokeach osu, which means as follows. I told you many times, and I'll say it again, and maybe I should have written it on the wall again. Responsibility equals borrowing equals ownership. In this case, let's leave the ownership alone. If I'm responsible for, let's say you, Reuven, gave me, Shimon, the parcel of 50, the second I got the 50 shekel parcel from you, I'm the one responsible for it, that if anything happens, even be'oines, I'm going to get mugged, and I'll be chayev, Khalila, yeah, that means I'm a borrower. Then it's bad. If the responsibility is on I changed the order of the Gemara, but on purpose. If the reshus loikeach, if the responsibility is on the one taking the parcel, and he's actually like the borrower, he is responsible, he's a borrower. Because the second it came to his hand in a cheap place, he's going from Bet Shemesh to, where's the fancy place? Savion, Kfar Shmariau. Let's pick on Savion, okay? Very nice place. I go from Bet Shemesh to Savion, all the way from Bet Shemesh, 50, 50, 50. Once I go into Savion, my GPS shows 70. In Savion, it's worth 70. But right from the start, when I took the parcel from you in Bet Shemesh, it was my responsibility. So I'm called a borrower. Borrower? I borrowed for 50. Call it whatever you want. At the end of the day, I'm giving back 70. That's ribis. Birshus moicher mutar. What's a trick? What could they do in order to avoid it? I changed the order. Says the Gemara, Birshus moicher mutar. Let's say they decide, and it's not a shtick. It's something that can be done. Let's say we decide, listen, mister, let's call you Reuven. You're the parcel owner. I'm the one who wants to run around, be the agent, and I have my interest here. Excuse the pun. Then what? If I say, until I make the sale in Savion in 3 days' time, let's say, until then, you, the original owner, are responsible. So listen carefully, because that's now we got to the punchline. The borrower, did not become a borrower until it became 70 shekels, if you remember, yeah? In other words, all the way from Bet Shemesh to Savion, yeah? And let's say there's a fair over there that took me 2-3 days to sell, it still belongs fully, completely to the original guy. Because if anything happens, I'm not responsible. Only the original guys are responsible. It's as if we press the delay button and my she'ela, my status as a borrower only started, you know when? Once I sold it, I think that's what we call franchise or something. Once I sold it, then it became mine. So I borrowed 70 shekels and I'm giving you back 70 shekels. I took the 70 and I made a million with it in the stock market. That's none of your business. That's not called ribis. That's a solution. Again, the only way to deal with that is if we say that we delay physically, it's in my hands. It's in my car. It's in my hands. It's not 50. It's 50,000 shekels watch. Yeah. But Lamaisa, all the way there, I'm not responsible. If anything happens, you're responsible, meaning I'm not. But the original guy is. So the borrower, I'm not a real borrower halachically until I sell it. Once I sold it, boom, from 50,000, the fancy guy in Savion, the big lawyer, gave me 70,000. Those 70,000, only then I become the borrower. So I borrowed 70,000, and I'm giving it back the day after. I drive back quickly here to give you the 70,000. That's not a problem. I borrowed 70, and I gave 70. The 50 was kilo prehistoric, before anything real halachic happened. That's why it's okay. I took the 70 and I invested and bought a whole big thing. So what? That's absolutely, obviously okay to take the money I borrow and invest. Lo kashur. That doesn't bother anybody. And that's why it's okay. This case, okay. That's case number one. Which, by the way, again, we had that 10 dapim ago. Next case. Yeah? Shlomo, how are you doing? The Shiur is also obviously Ilu Nishmas, your mother. Just what's the name again? Ilu Nishmas. Henya Reisha Basel Chonan Yitzchak Avada. Yes. Yeah. Now, second case. Hamoilich Peros. Hamoilich Peros. Second case. Ein Gimel Omid Aleph Bov Metzia. Hamoilich Peros Mimokim Lemokim. A person is about to sell fruit. Yeah. In other words, let's say you are now in a poor place. And you're about to go to the rich place, okay? And you want to take and sell it in a more expensive, richy pitchy place. His friend found him. His friend, they're still in a poor place, in the airport, in a train station. And he told him, a friend approached him all of a sudden, the one who holding the fruit in his hands, and told him, different to the first case, Tnamli, give me the fruit. I want to eat them now. I want to do business with them now. I need fruit now. I'm very hungry and I need money to sell. Give it to me now, please. You know what? I'm also traveling to expensive place. I'm also going to Richmond, Richtown, Savion, and there I have fruit. So give me now the 1 kilo of grapes. Let's even speak small amounts. 1 kilo of grapes in the poor place are 20 shekels. I want to eat them now. I'm starving. And when we get by the train to the other place, I'll give you back fruit, 1 kilo of fruit, but there it's worth 30. It's the same amount of fruit, 1 kilo. Here it's worth 20 shekels. In the expensive place, it's worth 30. I need them now. And I'm not paying you anything now. We'll have to wait 2 hours train ride. And then at the end of the train ride, I'll give you exactly the same quality of grapes, 1 kilo. But there we know they're worth more. Is that nice? Okay. Just as of itself. That's called so beso. We said even to lend a bag of milk, I became more careful with it since we started learning this. To lend a bag of milk is just about okay because people are not makpid. But if it's an expensive product, you lend some very fancy food to a friend and you're going to get to a neighbor, I don't know, some special, I don't know, coconut mixed with soya, I don't know, worth 100 shekel thing. And what? You lend it to a neighbor. I'm not saying not to do it, but it's a big question. Because if your neighbor will give you back the same carton, but it's worth more, inflation happens, maybe, yeah. That's called so beso. You can't lend a friend, something and say whatever the rate is, I'll pay you back the same. I'll return the same product, which will be worth more. Here it's even worse because we know it's worth more. I know that here it's 20 shekels of grapes that I borrowed from you. And there I'll give you grapes that are worth what? The same, exactly the same grapes in Tel Aviv are worth 30. So what? So what's the story? Is that just osir? Again, depends. So beso. Yeah? Says the Gemara, depends. Im yesh lo peros bois umokoi mutor. We know the concept of yesh lo. If the person actually, Tel Aviv is now the expensive place. If the person really has 1 kilo of good grapes in Tel Aviv in his house, in his storage room, and he knows that it's there as he's borrowing it in Bet Shemesh, he knows that in Tel Aviv he has those fruit, then it's allowed. Because we said, that's yesh lo. So beso, yesh lo is a solution. Why? Because it's as if there was no borrowing. I really have the grapes to give you. Happens to be Tel Aviv is 45 minutes away from here. That's all. But it's ke'ilu I gave you back already. It's just a technicality. It's not a whole borrowing, loaning. Calm down. Ve'im lav also. However, if I don't have those grapes in Tel Aviv, if I borrow from here the Bet Shemesh train station, please give me the kilo of grapes, and what? And I will buy you new ones in Tel Aviv. Oh, and I don't have any grapes anywhere to be found all over the globe, and I'll have to buy you new ones. That is also because that's back to classical sol beso. I got 20 and I gave you back 30. I it's the same grapes. Rabbanan were geyser because the value is more. Yes? Why are you unhappy? Questions all the time. Baruch Hashem. Yeah. Next case number 3. They are chamorin. Chamorin are not chamorin. They're not the donkeys. They're donkey drivers, they're called in English. A person who's a donkey driver is a person who's like, wheeler dealer. He likes to do business. He goes from one place to another with his choiro. He finds different choiros, right? And every time he goes from the cheap place to the expensive place, he sells it to the fancy people in North Tel Aviv. Okay, very nice. So he goes again and he sells from Bet Shemesh where whatever is worth 50, takes it to Tel Aviv and he sells it for 70. Okay, Beseder. So, I'm sorry. So now, what do we say? V'achamorim. The chamorin have a special halacha that applies to them. V'achamorin mali mimokom bimkoim hayoiker ki bimkoim hazoil ve'einan chosheshin. What does that mean? What the chamorim do is a different story. They go like this. They go to the expensive place. The chamorim start their journey. Our story begins in Savion, in North Tel Aviv. A chamar goes over there, or a truck driver, or a van driver, yeah, and he has all kinds of schoiro. And he asked the guy from North Tel Aviv, who's a big soicher, that's important, it's not stamai dugma, he's asking some fancy guy that's expensive, and he's like a guy it's good to do business with that guy from North Tel Aviv, yeah. So then, yeah, I wouldn't mess with stuff. And then what? Now, this guy, the chamar asks him, give me some money now. Give me what? 70 shekels now. 70 shekels in Tel Aviv can get you, let's say, 1 kilo of the fancy fruit, right? But in Bet Shemesh, yeah, it can get you 2 kilos, let's say, right? So give me what here could get you 1 kilo. I'm gonna go with this same money to the cheap place to Bet Shemesh. Ooh, and then I'll come back to you to Tel Aviv with double as much. Yeah, with more, lav dafka double, with more. Yeah, because for the same money in Bet Shemesh, your money can buy you much more. Yeah, like America is actually fancier than Israel, but in America we all know electronic products are what cheaper than in Israel, right? I can get you 2 earphones instead of one in America. So in the fancy place, I tell the guy, I'm the one, give me the money, give me 50, and I'll get, and what? The North Tel Aviv guy, the rich guy, gave him 50 and he's waiting for his money, patiently or impatiently. Yes and no. You're right, Baruch. Yes and no. I dafka made waiting for the money because the money is away from him. If he won't get the product, he'll get the money. In other words, there's an element here of the horrible words agar natar. He gave the money. He's waiting for day 2, 3, 4, and he's trusting the chamar, right? The chamar will eventually bring him what? Hopefully, you're right. More schoira. So that sounds like ribis, right? In other words, somebody said bye bye or au revoir to his money in order to get more. Because here in Tel Aviv, he'll get 1 kilo. He's hoping for the 2 kilos. He'll be able to tell his kids on Shabbos, oh, we got 2 kilos of grapes, not just one, for the same amount of money. So then, why is that allowed? I'm reading again. They sell people an expensive place as if it was a cheap place. And there's no aspect of ribis here. Why not? Yeah, this chamar, what did he get? The chamar got. Why is the chamar doing it? Is he a friar? He's Israeli. He's not a friar. I'm joking. Why is the chamar doing it? Because the chamar has the money. On the way, he can actually take the money and strike a business deal with it and do something with 50 shekels, right? He has the money for a week, and then other 50 shekel, he'll buy the grapes and bring him 2 kilos. So he's getting money to play around with, and he's giving back more product. Why is that allowed? Says the Gemara 2 reasons. My timer, there are 2 machloikes why that is okay. Rav Papa Omar says Rav Papa answer number 1. Rav Papa Omar, nichalehu de megalalu utara. I'm following Rashi or not other Rishonim. I'm being conservative following Rashi. Nichalu de megalalu utara. This guy, the chamar, is not exactly just gaining the time with the money. His quality time with the other guy's money. Actually, what he's gaining is megalalu utara. Other people tell him in Bet Shemesh, "Oh, you do business with that fancy company in North Tel Aviv in the Silicon Valley. There, wow, we want to do business with you." That's a very nice line in his CV, in his resume. In other words, he's doing business with a fancy guy in a rich town, in Savyon, in Herzliya. Wow, okay. Of course, he would love to open all the doors for you. And that, and only that, is the reason why he's willing to schlep and do the service for the fancy guy and give him more fruit. It's not because of having the money at all. Therefore, it's not ribis. Ribis means when you lend me money, and because you lent me money, I give you an extra service and extra something. But if I would give it to you anyways, if I have clearly another motive, another reason to do it, then it's not called ribis. As we said, and we'll see at the end of the Masechta, at the end of the Perek, if I say good morning to everybody, so I say good morning in a friendly way to everybody, I'm allowed to say good morning to the guy who lent me money. I'm not saying good morning because you lent me money. I'm saying good morning because I'm a nice guy, right? I live around Americans. That's why. Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, that's a nakuda. And Mimela here, especially it's the Rabbanon, remember, Mimela that's allowed. The extra money is not what motivates him to, give him more fruit, the extra time. Rav Acha bar Avika Omar. Rav Acha bar Avika gives us a different reason, and he says, "Nichalu the Musli gabayhu." He has another interest over here besides, excuse the pun. He has another reason here to why he's doing the service for the guy in the rich place. He is actually happy. The people in Bet Shemesh, he comes from Tel Aviv to Bet Shemesh with 50 shekels in his pocket, and he tells the soicher in Bet Shemesh, let's say the wholesaler, whatever, in the kibbutz, not 50. 500, 5,000, whatever. He comes with the money to the wholesaler and tells him, you know what? You know me. I'm not a liar. And you know what? I'm not taking any cut on this. I'm not making any money on this, really. It's true. He's not making money. right? I'm getting 50, right? And I'm gonna charge him not 70, I'll charge him kilo 50, right? I charged him 50 for what Tel Aviv's worth more, right? Lamaisa, I'm not making money here. So then the guy in Bechemesh would say, oh, poor guy, he's not making any cut in the deal. I will now sell him for even cheaper. I'll sell him for 40. Not because the wholesaler Bechemesh is such Rachmanus and is Bal Chesed, because listen to this, we all know in business it's all one chain reaction. He says, wait, if this Hamal goes back and forth from here to Tel Aviv, not making any real cash, eventually, if he's not making money, he will stop buying from me. He'll stop buying from me because if somebody does make money, he'll close the business. Therefore, it's good for me. It's valuable for me, the wholesaler, in a cheap place to sell it even cheaper for him. So he should make the cut on my side, even though he's not making the cut on the expensive place side. That's why, and that's what is marviach. So the guy in Tel Aviv who's killed the big Malva Beribis is not Bechlal connected. He's not the one who caused him any gain, right? I mean, indirectly, yes, but it's very, very indirect. He's gaining from the Bechemesh, from the cheap side. He's gaining because the guy in Bechemesh says, oh, you're really selling this 50 shekel for 50? Not for more in Tel Aviv? You're friar, Meshuga? Okay, I'll make you a cut. I'll make it cheaper for you. So the cut you will make is between, let's say, the 40 that I gave you and the 50, the 10 shekels. Yeah, that side of the gain you're going to make. And that's why it's not called ribis, because he's a marviach from the other direction. Now, frag the Gemara, my benayu. Let's repeat. What were the two answers? And now the Gemara asks, my benayu, what's the practical nafkamina difference between the two answers? Answer number one, what is the guy gaining? The chamal that goes from expensive to cheap and sells the expensive guy for a cheap price. What is he gaining? Good name. You know who I do business with? He's going to say in the next cocktail party, I do business with Mr. Fancy Guy, NorthTelAviv.com. Oh, you do business with him. Here, I can even show you photos. Of course, we'd all love to do business with you. That's answer number one. That's a reva. Answer number two, oh, you're not marviach anything from that fancy business? Okay, we'll give you a better deal, so you should keep buying from us. My benayu, what's the difference? Answers the Gemara. And again, I'm following Rashi against other Rishonim. Ika benayu, the difference between the two answers is tagra chadita. Let's say the guy is a newbie. He's a new tagal. He's a new merchant. He's a new guy in the market, very green. So now, if the guy is a new guy, if it's the first answer, who wants to have good name in the market? A new guy or an old guy? A new guy. I'm a new guy. I just started my business, my startup, chamar.com. DriveADonkey.com is a new, very fancy startup. And right away, I'm a new guy, and look who does business with me. Amongst our clients in the web page is what? Fancy Guy from Savion. Wow, that's a real gain. Masha'en Ken, if he's a new guy, the second answer doesn't work in that case. What's the second answer? He comes to the guy in Bechemish and says, you know what? I'm not making any profit on this. So if he's an old guy, I don't mean old, that he's 70, if he's a veteran guy, if he's many years into the business, then they believe him. We know you. We know you're not a liar. And if you say you're not making any cut and you're selling the guy in an expensive place, the cheap price, we believe you. So we'll give you a better price. So you should come to us. So you're marviach on our side. Masha'en Ken, if he's a new guy, I don't know you. I've never seen you before in the market. You're telling me you're not making any profit? Sounds interesting. But they're not going to necessarily believe him because he's a new guy in the market. He's not yet known. And therefore, in that case, if he does that business as a new guy, according to the second answer, it should be osur, because he's not marviach their cheap price. They probably won't give it to him. And that was not his motive. When he took it from Tel Aviv, the money, started taking the chamor right to Bechemesh, what he had in his mind is not, I'm going to tell everyone in Bechemesh not making money. Who's going to believe you? Nobody knows you, Bechlal. So why did you do it? Because you have money to play around with for a long time. That's called ribbit. And that's a problem. Yes, okay. Weiter. Next story time. Next Maisa. The Surah, the Gemara starts off with telling us the reality. The line starts with the word Chadita. Yeah? And Gimel Amud Aleph. Besura, there was a town called Surah, and Rav lived there. Besura, Azli Arbo. In Surah was a more expensive place, and for one zuz, you could have gotten four, it doesn't say four what, let's say 4 bags of wheat, let's say, Nagid, yeah? For one zuz, you would get only 4 bags of wheat. But the Kafri, In another place called Kafri, which was cheaper, Aslan Shita Shita. There, for one zuz, you can get 6, obviously cheaper. One zuz can get you 2 more. Okay, what did Rav do? Yaiv Rav Zuzi lechamri. Rav brought the zuzim, let's say one zuz, to a chamar. What's a chamar? Rav was an expensive place, okay? Rav was an expensive place. He gave one zuz to a chamar, to a guy who goes back and forth, to the truck driver, to the donkey driver. And what? In order to get the cheap one. I go to the cheap place? Ah, great. Please, please, get me for one zuz, not just, 4, get me 6, get me more. Yeah, instead of 4 kilos, with one zuz, get me 6. Like people in Israel would tell their friend who goes to America, get me those fancy, earphones for less, right? So now, he was machmir even more, and he accepted upon himself the oin sadocha. Remember the first case? He said, you're not called borrowers, because until you actually sell the product, until you actually take my shekel, my zuz, and you buy the stuff with it, it still belongs to me. So you're not yet a borrower until you actually have the bigger amount. And yet, interesting, at the end of the day, they came back with 6 kilos instead of 4. With the one zuz that here is worth 4 kilos, they came with 6. Out of 6, you'd only take 5. Interesting. In other words, he was wary that maybe it's ribis. He would only take a smaller cut. Why? What's the problem? Why is it a problem? We said a second ago that chamorim, it's not called ribis. They have their own interest, right, to give you more in the expensive place. Either because Rav is a very fancy, famous guy. It's amazing to do business with him. He's going to write on his T-shirt, I made business with Rav. Or because other people give them for cheaper. Plus, Rav was extra machmir even and accepted upon himself the achrayus. So why can't Rav take the 6? It's okay. It's not ribis. We just proved, through fire and water, that it's okay to take ribis in that case. It's not called ribis because the chamorim have their own side interest here. And says the Gemara, Adam Choshuv Shaini. That concept appears many, many times in the Gemara. A person who's an Adam Choshuv, a person who's an important person, everybody looks up to him, and people scrutinize each and every movement that he does. And whatever he does, people would learn from him to be makel. Now, if people think that great rabbi, the brisker, the choshev arav, whatever, is a machmir, and yet he is lenient in one nekuda, they'll be even more lenient. That's why an adam choshev should always look, super perfect, and should always be machmir extra. So that's why Rav, although what Rav did was absolutely fine, he did not take the full cut. He only took a smaller margin, which was less noticeable by the people, so people don't think and say, oh, that's allowed to do that, and people would be makel even more than they're supposed to. Next case. That's not actually a case. Now we're going to have a question built upon what we've just learned. Abasi asked Rabbi Yochanan the following. Mahu, what would be the halacha regarding the chamorim? Ma'u la'asos begruto ois. Grutois in Old Hebrew is similar to the meaning in modern Hebrew. Grutois are all kinds of bits, odds and ends. Grutois in Rashi many times is like scrap metal. All kinds of pieces of metal, gold, silver, of odd pieces of gold and silver, not proper tachshitim. These things, today there are people who make a lot of money from scrap metal on a regular basis, but back then, grutois is something which is not a stable business. There's no profession as a person who sells grutois, right? In other words, it's not something you hang on your door on your website, I sell grutois. It's something which is a chance, sort of like an off chance, a guy who moonlights and he buys and sells sometimes grutois, which means the concept of grutois is it's a sale which I do now, but most probably I'll never do again. Let's say you have an old piece in your house, an old table, you have nothing to do with it. What do? You sell it yad time, you sell it secondhand, right? It doesn't mean you became a tables merchant. You happen to have an old table, you sell it. Okay? Commercial time, I'll tell you about the old table I have to sell, but it's not now. You understand the question? What did we say up until now? What does it have to do with anything? Why is it that the chamorim are allowed to take the cut? Why? Because it's not because of they got the money. They're not taking a cut, by the way. Why are they taking and borrowing money and giving more? Because they want to have an ongoing business. They want that the next time they come to Beit Shemesh, they'll be able to tell everybody, I do business with fancy guy in Savyon, with the Silicon Valley guy in Herzliya. Oh, really? Oh, please come to us, right? That's only if it's an ongoing business. And also the idea of I'll buy for him next time for cheaper from the wholesaler. But if it's a one-off thing, maybe then it's not allowed. It's a question because you can't say that the reason why the chamar is what getting money and gets the guy in the expensive place the scrap metal. Scrap metal in the expensive place is 100 shekel a piece, 1,000, and in the cheap place it's 800. Yeah, why giving him 200 extra? Only because he waited for the money and he had money to play with. Yeah, you had time to play with the money. Isn't that so? Yes or no? Or maybe by Grutos, we also say at the end of the day, maybe he has another interest. Answers the Gemara, Ken, Mamas Grutos Ken, Omale. So he answered, Rabbi Yochanan answered Rabasi, very, very simply. Bikesh Rabbi Shmuel bar Yosi, Lasos Ken Beklei Pishtan. Rabbi Shmuel bar Yosi wanted to, what? Act upon the special kula of Chamorim when it came to selling clay pishtan, which means garments made out of linen garments. He was not a merchant of linen garments. He had one-off some linen garment to sell Erev Pesach. Instead of throwing it by the Gemach, he had some linen garments to sell as an off chance. Rebbe did not allow him, and we know why. Because since it's a one-off thing, don't tell me you have an interest, right, to get it from this fancy guy and say, I sell fancy linen to the fancy guy. You're not going to do it again because it's a one-off. It's a one-off. And Ikadamri, some say the same idea, but the reverse names. Because Rebbe lasses begruto isken. Some say that the one who wanted to do it was the other way around. Rebbe is the one to do it, and it wasn't cloth, it wasn't linen, it was grutois, was odds and ends. The one who's the poisik of Shmuel bar Yosi. So both stories have the same maskana. Either the person who came to ask the shaila was Rebbe or Shmuel bar Yosi, or the poisik halacha was either Rebbe or Shmuel bar Yosi. Yeah, they're contemporaries. But at the end of the day, if it's a one-off thing, you cannot do that. Next case, next halacha. Pardesa. Pardes is opposed to modern Hebrew. So many times, Pardes means a vineyard. Yeah, in modern Hebrew, Pardes is an orchard of citrus fruit, yeah, but like a soygim, Pardes is soygim, right? But Pardes in the Gemara is a vineyard, is a kerem, and the question now is, can I pre-sale, pre-buy, pre-purchase wine when the person, let's say, I'm standing by someone's vineyard, and it's a very, very early stage. The anovim, the grapes are there, but they're called boiser or smadar. Boiser and smadar are early stages of in the life of the grape. One, boser, then smadar, if I'm not mistaken. It's a Gemara in Bochus, Lamed Bava, Amud Beis Berach. And there, what? I'm standing here by the grapes, and I say, they look promising. I'm a big Mavin, so maybe I'm not. We'll see. And what? I want to buy your wine for a cheap price now. In other words, now, yeah, if you sell those grapes that are unripe, that's very cheap. And I'm such a visionary in business, I envision the wine that's going to come out. And I'll tell you, like, we're back to the Mishnah, by the way. We're back to the concept of the Mishnah of poiskin. I want to set a price, a cheap price, giving you the cash now, right? And eventually, when the thing will become good wine, you give it to me for the current cheap price. Mamish the same case as the Mishnah. What's the question? You're only allowed to do it when it's yesh loy, right? When the person has wine in his house, or even one or two stages before wine, it's about to be wine, it's considered as if I, the buyer, am already the owner of the grapes, and the grapes became big and nice and ripe and expensive, and they became wine in my authority, under my ownership. Grapes that will become wine. I'm not confused, I'm saying this on purpose. Yeah, last time I checked, I'm not trying to be sarcastic, yeah, but yeah, the wine is from grapes, and the grapes here are going to become wine. And, I know this guy has a good vineyard in the Galil, in the Golan, in California, Lehavdil, and yeah, I predict it will be good wine, but I want to set myself now. I want to give the cash now, and I want to sort of put my claws now on that, and eventually the wine, I don't know, in a year's time, I'll buy you the wine. I'm buying kilu now, although there's no meshicha, there's a mishapora, right? If you regret the deal, then you're going to get a curse. So is that okay or not? Not so simple. Not so simple to say that's yesh lo. Why? Rav Osar Shmuel Shari, Machlokes Rav Shmuel. Rav said you're not allowed. There is a problem of poiskin, and it's not called yesh loy. it's not called that the person already has the wine, and Shmuel allows it. Shmuel says, yes, once you have even unripe grapes, we look that far and we already see the wine in front of our eyes, and it's considered as if you have wine, and everything is already happening in the possession of the buyer. Why? What's the reason of Rav and what's Shmuel's reason? Rav Osa. Why did Rav forbid it? Kevin de Kamei Shavia, right? Rav doesn't allow it. It's right in front of him. In other words, first of all, it's not wine, right? What is it? Right in front of you, right? You see the right in front of you, yeah? You have the grapes, and those grapes, what about them? Yeah? That, why are you giving it for cheaper? Why are you giving it for cheaper? You're giving it much more cheaper than wine because it's a Ganatan. You got now the money. Who's you? The vineyard owner got the money. Yes. Wine, come on. Wine is nowhere to be seen, right? Wine is nowhere to be seen. There's a very big gap. Mind the gap. Very big gap between unripe grapes and wine. And therefore, I'm sorry, that's a Ganatan. What's a Ganatan? You waiting. In other words, you, Mr. Buyer, you gave good cash now. A whole year without my beloved cash? Oy, I want to get more money, or I want to get more grapes for less money. That's a Ganatan. I'm sorry, right? And because why? You're paying cheap for a more expensive product, which you know is more expensive. I don't know if you remember yesterday's case. That's like the wet wheat which become dry. If you pay something for a low quality product, which you know will improve with time, as it ages, it improves, and you want it after it aged for the current price, that's a Ganatan, right? And I assume nobody else has it around, right? Again, maybe if other merchants have it, that's a different story. That's not the story. There are no other vineyards in the area. And you don't tell me you have wine. That's not wine. It's unripe grapes. That's not good enough. However, Shmuel Shari, why does Shmuel allow it? Which means, tiyua means it could be a defect. Maybe rain will come, maybe blizzard, storms, snowstorm, cold, something may happen to the grapes. Grapes are sensitive, yeah? And therefore, because we don't know that those grapes will become so much better, will become fancy choshuv wine, they may or they may not be. And yet, following one opinion in the Mishnah, yet the money is mechuyev to give, right? There's mishapor on both sides. You're taking a risk. Now, he's paying him, let's say now 10,000. If it's going to be fancy wine, it will be 30,000. Maybe the 10,000 will go down to 8,000 or 5 or even less, because maybe the entire vineyard is going to go get lost, goes kaput. Maybe it will be totaled by the rain, and by not rain, by the snow, by the cold, by whatever. Because there's an element here of risk taking because of the elements. Mimela what? Mimela, that's not called a garnatal. A garnatal means when we are almost sure that the current product will become better, bigger, more expensive, inflation, better market, better this, better, then fine. Because wine is very iffy, very risky, mimela, that's not called a garnatal. Why does Rav says Toisus, if you dapim go, says it's not so common. It's not common enough that grapes go bad and all of a sudden there's a cold spell, whatever you call it. Yeah, it's not so common, and therefore says Rav, the normal derech oilam is that the young grapes will become choshuv wine. Zakot and godol. Says Rav, that's a garnatal. You're paying now for something that will be absolutely transformed, morphed into a whole better thing, and will happen. And therefore, that's ribis. Shmuel says, no, I'm paying now and I'm taking a risk. Maybe better, maybe worse. I already took my money out of my pocket, gave it to you. I'm a risk taker. I'm a risk taker, according to Shmuel. That's why it's not called a garnata. We're not certain enough that the cotton will be godol, and therefore that chance is good enough for us to get the guy out of ribis framework. We pass like Rav, even though it's mominous, right? No, even though it's mominous, excuse me, no. Even though it's mominous, yeah. Halacha kishmol b'mominous, and here halacha is like Rav. Maybe ribis is not mominous, you know that. Ribis is isurim, that's why. Yes. Very good, very good. Ribis is like nida, like kashrus, like Yom Kippur, like that's why. Maybe that's a lochas like Rav. Very good. Good point. Weiter. Omar of Shimi bar Chia. However, there's one exception to the rule. Omar of Shimi bar Chia. Umaydi Rav would admit and agree to Shmuel The Tori in bulls. When it comes to bulls, Rav would agree to Shmuel that it's not a garnatar. Whatever bulls means, we'll see soon. The nafish psidaihu. When it comes to bulls, it's very likely that there will be a loss. Now, Machlokes Rashi Tosfos. Rashi says, based also on the Gemara in Metzia, some places they would actually pick the grapes riding on bulls, yeah, or whatever. They would lead the bulls through the vineyard, picking the grapes, and that would be a whole mess. And the workers would not be careful. And many times the bulls, bulls short. You remember the bull from Bava? That's a Spanish bull. That's a violent one. The bulls, they mess up the place. In other words, the Gemara says, it's a Gemara of Agadita that says, if you want to lose all your money, then don't supervise your workers. Says the Gemara, when your workers work the field with the bulls, they just run around and destroy everything. And those young boys working there have a lot of fun. It's nicer than a Tractoron or Lamborghini even. Yeah, so that's a whole mess. So Rav says that if that kind of vineyard is one that is tended to by bullfighters, by bull riders, then it's very likely they will get lost. Why would people do such a thing? It's a good question. Where's the owner? I don't know. The owner is irresponsible. If that's that kind of place, of establishment, it's very likely that there will be a loss. And then says, no problem. You're betting, you're playing in a casino. Why? You put in money. Either the grapes will be amazing or good. Maybe the grapes will be falling all over, eaten, whatever, trampled all over by the bulls. And that's where it's allowed. Toysa says we're talking about the bulls themselves. Toysa says we're talking about a guy who buys baby bulls or even embryo bulls in the stomach, and many times they miscarry. The cows, they miscarry many times, and therefore it's a risk. Yeah, let's say, I'm now paying you for the baby, but I'm going to get it when it's big. Give it to me when it's big with the price of an unborn baby. That's a problem. But because it's very unlikely that the cow would miscarry, lo aleinu, and therefore, we say, okay, it's risk taking. It's not I'm paying cheap and getting more. I'm paying cheap and getting a surprise, more or less. That's why it's okay. Omar leu Shmuel. Now another case. Omar leu Shmuel. Shmuel said, Lehanu deshavshi shivsha. Machlokes Rashi Tosfos again. Upa says Rashi as follows. Some people would lend the arisim. We know what arisim are. In nice English, sharecroppers. Yeah, right? The aris is a person who is not so nice Hebrew, takes achuzim. It's a person who works someone else's fields, he tills the earth of somebody else, and he takes a cut, he takes a percentage, or he gives a percentage. Now, what happens if the balabais lends an oris grains? You're an oris, you want to work in someone's land, either mine or someone else's. You come to me and you say, I don't have the kernels, the grains to sow the field, to plant, to sow. I need kernels. And I say, okay, great. I'm lending you the kernels now and give it back to me much later. Give it back to me at the time of the kotzir, at the time of the end of, I'm looking in Rashi, he says, give it to me back in the times of the goyren, even after the kotzir. When it's already ready in the granary, then give me the grains. Once grown, once they're fully grown, then you can give it back to me. That is a problem. Why is that a problem? What do you mean? Again. Rak rega. 1 second. I have grains and you are working in someone else's field. You work in your field, okay? You're asking me, okay, but do you have some grains to lend? Of course I'm going to lend you grains. I'm lending you grains now and they're cheap. It's a time of sowing. It's cheshvan, right? You sow and it takes half a year around Pesach time, around Sfiras Omer, is when you cut them, then you dry them, you do all the different pulas you do on Shabbos. You're not supposed to do on Shabbos yet. And now around Tisha B'Av time, you give me back the grains. Now those grains now are worth more. They're worth more now. Now they're food. Now people buy them for food. And now they're worth more. In other words, that's obviously a problem. Because I lent it to you when it was worth what? I don't know, 10 shekels. And you give it back to me when they're worth 20 shekels. So what's the solution? Yeah, that's according to Rashi. Amar l'Shmuel, lehanu de shabshi shivsha. Those who actually shabshi shivsha, those who lend the grains. The Tosfos argues with Rashi. We'll see that later. Shmuel gave them good advice, and he told them, "Hafoichu be'ara." You should help the oris to actually work and till the land. Help him. Be mehapech. do something in the land, help him out in the land. You should become an owner of the land, which means if I go to someone else's field with his consent, yeah, and I do something in the land, I'm coin of the land. I purchased the land. Rofak bapurta, we had that in Basra, right? So if I lend you, but now the land you're working in is partially mine because I work the land and that shows ownership symbolically, excuse me, then I'm a partner. It's not like I'm lending you for your business. I am what? I'm a partner in your business. And that Gemara, my friends, as far as I think, I didn't see it inside, is one of the sources of Heter Iska. What's Heter Iska? Why do we borrow money from the bank? We said that the bank and I are doing business together. One partner is not lending to the other guy as a separate entity. He's lending himself. He's lending the corporation that the both partner is in. And that's what Shmuel's telling the guys to do, the lenders. Be part of the story by helping him out here and there. Yeah, get off your plush chair, a lawyer in Tel Aviv. Take off your tie, go to the field, and work a little bit to show you're an owner in the field. Because if you don't do that, if you don't do that, it's like a loan. And it's also because you lent him, although again, it's not a loan of, it's like a loan. Because loan in Lashon HaKodesh means money. Nobody lent money, as you correctly told me before, you're right. He's giving him fruit, but he's going to get grains. But he's going to get grains back more expensive. And we know that. It becomes more expensive in the summer. That's why it would be osur, unless you do something to show you're part of the business. Kipshutoi. Weiter. According to Tosfos, there's a different pshat. I'll tell you what Tosfos says. I said Baal Peh, not much time. Tosfos says as follows. Tosfos is very, I would say, upset with the fact that Rashi says, I was also, it grated on my ears, the word shivsha never means grains in the Gemara. Shivsha always means branches, twigs. Yes. Tlata shivshin is what it says about in the dream of Yosef. Not of Yosef, the dream of Saramashkim. Yeah. There were three leaves, three things, three srigim. Yeah. So says Tosfos, we're not talking about somebody that is lending, nothing to do with what we spoke about grains. Tosfos says, B'Shem Derach, that we're talking about the old case, the previous case in the Gemara. If a person wants to buy fruit, what did we say? Rav said that to buy fruit, yeah? Remember? Rav said if you want to buy fruit, you want to buy wine, and now it's only fruit, that's going to be ribis, yeah? Because it will grow nicer and better. You're paying cheap for something that eventually will be amazing, and only then you'll get it, right? Shmuel said, no, maybe it's going to go bad. The fruit may go bad. What about if I want to buy the twigs, the branches of the vine? That's what I want. I need them for something, like Boim or Madura. Yeah, or I want to plant my own vineyard. Then even Shmuel agrees that it's a problem. Why? Because the actual vine doesn't get damaged as much as the fruit, right? Mimela, even Shmuel agrees that mistome, once the vine grows bigger and better, the branches will be sturdier and stronger and better, and you stay with the old price. That's why he says, even Shmuel says, and that's why Shmuel is the one speaking here. Very, very nice. Shmuel said when it comes to fruit, the fruit may freeze to death. I said, yalla, it's not called ribis, it's called playing the casino. Do what you want. But the actual branches, they will grow better, bigger and better. And Mimela, when it comes to the branches, you cannot actually do that job. And therefore, you have to do something in the land to be an owner of those branches right away. Right, let's continue. Next case. Omar le'urova lehanu deminteri bagi. Rava told, now we're going to talk about people who pay late. Omar le'urova lehanu deminteri bagi. Rava told the shomrei bitachon of the fields. Rava spoke to the guards, those people who guard the fields. The way he used to work is like that. I'll give an introduction and then everything will be easier and we'll have to finish the Amud today. We have to because no, I'm running around against the clock over here this week. The story is as follows. A person is commissioned to be the shomer, the guard of a field, because people may steal the chitim, like we see by Boaz, right? And what? And till when do I have to guard the place? Until the kotzil, until the harvest. Once the harvest, I really don't have to be a shomer anymore. Okay. But when would they actually pay the shomer? It was and let's say it was decided the entire tkufa, the entire 2 3 months, whatever, it grows until it becomes nice and standing upright nicely. Kama in around Nissan time, ER time. Yeah, until then I paid one lump sum of let's say 6,000 shekels. Yeah, a boy out of yeshiva, 6,000 shekels, very nice. Lemaisa, the normal thing would be because they would pay him late, they would still make him stay longer, not to be shomer. They would stam loiter around, and what? And they would pay him not 6,000. The accepted minhag was to pay him at the end of the entire process, what's called goren, because between the harvest and until you actually have nice grains, anybody who learned Shabbos or know agriculture a little bit knows it's a long process. There are many things you do. And during those 2 3 months, it's like between Pesach and Av Berech, that time they only pay him at the end of the year. They pay him a few months later, but they pay him more. Don't worry, yeshiva boy. We promised you 6,000. You waited for your money. We're paying you more. Instead of 6, we're paying you 7. They may be nice to him, but that's ribis. He's been waiting for his money since the kotzil, since let's say Nissan ER was supposed to be paid. He's paying later, and he's being paid more. Bad news. That's ribis. Maybe not the oraisa, agar natar. He's been waiting for his money, and because he waited for the money, he's being paid more than the original. He's not working. I said he just doesn't do anything. No. You have the key to the answer. I'm a little bit North Korean now. I'm sorry. No. He's not working. He sits there, hopefully reading the Gemara. He's not even shomer anymore. Maybe even went home. Good. However, let me just. I need to get the flow now. To those shomrim, puku go out. Hafuchu bebeidari. You were right. You have to go and help symbolically, help a little bit here and there in the actions, in the work that has to be done in the beidar, in the granary. You have to, do some zoire, boirer, meraked, do all these works that you have to do. Collect a bit, do a bit, take out the stones, even a little bit, to continue your work term very nicely from Nisan all the way to Av. Because otherwise, right, this way, if you still keep working, even if you come every third day to work, you still show your nose in the workplace, as they say, show your face, and you still symbolically work until you get paid, then it's not a problem. Right? Very good. In other words, the schirus, only when you hire a person or when you rent an apartment, halachically, you only have to pay at the end. Then it's okay. Since you officially, symbolically worked, and his work did not finish in Nisan, it finished in Av, then he went to Ben Hazmanim, then what? Then it's okay to pay him at the end. And it's called, it was paid on time, not paid after the time, and he waited, it was paid on time. He got more. Instead of 5,000, they gave him 500. Says Rove, enjoy the bonus. Enjoy the bonus. Lama lo. In the words of the Gemara, Shaita, at the end of the term, when they pay him at the end of the day, Ozuli the Kamaz, the Gabaychu, it's as if they give you cheaper, meaning not cheaper, they give you more or less. It's kilo the other way. In other words, they gave you extra. Very nice. Why not? One more case, and then you can ask whichever question you want. Rabbanan asked Rove, and actually they didn't ask him, they attacked him. Rabbanan claimed against Rove. The other rabbis, they told Rove, Ka'achil ma ribis. Oh, you are eating ribis. You are taking ribis from your oris. You take ribis from your sharecropper. Now, just as a small introduction, as I told you, some sharecroppers would give a percentage. They would take, let's say, 60%, and they would give the owner of the land 40%. That's how it would go. You work. I drink my coffee, and I work in my high-tech office in Netanya, whatever, and what? And you work all the time. At the end of the year, you give me 40%. You, the Oris, give me the Balabais. But why are they attacking Rava, saying that he's taking ribis from his Oris? The Kula al Mashakli Arbo, most people or everybody else except for you, they take four kol, they take 4 tons, 4 units, let's say 4%, whatever, 40%. And they force the aris, the sharecropper, the worker, to get out of the land in Nisan. As the what's its name? The wheat, the barley, the cereal gets in Nisan, it's high and tall. At that point, they tell the Oris, you just finished cutting it, out. The Oris wants to continue, and soon we'll know why. They tell him, get out of here and give us 4. Okay. Mal, you, mister, you, rabbi, notalu ad iyar, you keep him 1 month longer, v'shakil shita, and you take 6. So why? L'choyer what? You're mamish doing what we said not to do before. The Oris stands there, sits there 1 extra month, and the Oris is delaying your payment. Don't get confused here. The Oris, you allow the Oris to pay you late, and because of that, you take more. Instead of 40%, you say 60% instead of 40. You allow him, you wait patiently for the money he owes you, for the grains he owes you, and you take more. Hey, that's ribis. Omer lehu, no, says Rava. You guys got it all wrong. Atun kavditun shloi kedin. You are the ones who are doing it the wrong way around. You're the ones who over halacha. Why? Ara leoris mishtabed. The land, the oris, is not a guy you're doing a favor to. The agreement between the balabais and the sharecropper is that the land is meshubad. You are obligated to keep him in the land as long as he needs to finish the cycle, the full agricultural cycle. Nisan is not the end of the cycle. You kick him out too early before the chita is really ready to be reaped. You make him lose. You make him unfairly. It's unfair what you're doing. He is allowed and should be shubad. You're obligated to make him stay there, to let him stay there until the end of the cycle. The end of the cycle needs that extra month, Rashi explains, to get the malkosh, to get the extra wetness, the extra thing, and then he should be left. You make him leave too early, and you say, oh, you're not here long, and we're taking less. Yeah, that's not right. I make him stay here till Iyar, not because he's not loitering around. It's wrong. He's not standing here. He's really allowed to still be in the field until Iyar, because only then the wheat is really, really ready and ripe and ready to be cut properly. And I'm the one who's kilu taking more from him, but I'm giving him more. Why? Because I'm kilu taking more, but Lamaisa, he's getting much better wheat by me. You take from him, you and him together have low quality wheat, and then you say, from the low quality wheat, which the cycle didn't finish, you take only 4%. Shkoyach, I let him stay there until the wheat is very nice and ripe and really, really ready. And from that, I take 6, but he's getting much more because he really has the other 40% of high quality wheat. And I'm doing the right thing. It's not extra. I let him stay till the end. You kick him out before the end. You're doing it the wrong way around. So Rava was right. Just finished the Amud, Baruch Hashem. Questions and comments are more than welcome. Thank you to everybody over here. Navas Shalom in the Chemesh, YouTube, and thank you to everybody who watches us in Torah anytime. See you tomorrow, Meretz Hashem. Next week, there will be a break. And also YouTube, and anytime there will be changes just next week. And I'm going to tell everybody here in the room and then to people online. Thank you.